Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me directly, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today we are discussing a tribute model made in 2003, launched in 2003 in tribute to Jacques Mayol, the free diver and naturalist. This is the Omega Seamaster Chronograph Apnea. Technically part of the Diver 300-meter line. It is hugely modified both mechanically and aesthetically to better work in concert with free diving technique. The timepiece is fundamentally based on that Diver 300-meter line that we often describe as the James Bond Seamaster due to its starring role alongside Pierce Brosnan in the 90s and early 2000s. This model has been changed considerably, but dimensionally it's fairly similar. 41.5 millimeters in stainless steel. The watch is thick. That's its most massive dimension. You can see that it is 16.5 millimeters thick, and then from lug to lug 49 millimeters, and end link to end link 52.3 millimeters with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. This watch was available on both strap and bracelet, and with both black and silver dial. And for once, I'm actually a bigger fan of the silver dial on this watch, and I'll tell you why that is in a moment. On my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, you can see the watch fits well. I wore the basic chronometer version of this watch back in the 2000s, and I still have it. It still fits well. The watch is thick, but it's not huge or broad. So I think if your wrist is 14.5 centimeters circumference, you're still going to wear this one well. It's probably not going to fit underneath the cuff, though, and you can see that to good effect. It includes a fascinating bracelet that's somewhere between a dress bracelet and a sports bracelet. It's a 3-link design, but you can see it has these character lines down the center links that create the look of a multi-link bracelet. It has relatively short cross-section individual links, and you can see that they are oval in profile, again, giving it a little bit of an air of a dress bracelet. You have a half link built in, and we have removable links fixed by pins and sleeves. So if you want to size this at home, use a block and a punch, not a screwdriver, but it is a very sturdy assembly system. There is a fold-out milled dive extension for use over a wetsuit or a dry suit, and it has the same clasp as the other Diver 300 meters, a twin trigger system with a milled-out clasp and a single folding swing arm with a single deployant action. Rolling back to the case, you know it well, lyre-style lugs. We've seen it on many Seamasters and Speedmasters since the first half of the 60s. Polished outer bevels that thin out but don't diminish entirely at the mid-case, satin finish and profile, and you can see the lugs are tapered and integrated into the case band. No helium escape valve on this watch, though it is 300 meters water resistant. Chronograph pushers here are shouldered for durability and shear protection, but they are not screw downs, which means you can always access the chronograph. You do not have to first screw up the shoulder guard. We do have a screw down crown, however, with robust crown guard structures, and then a diving bezel, unidirectional with an aluminum insert and lacquered characters. You can line it up with the unique model-specific minute hand, both hands for minutes and hours unique to the model, and for that matter, so is the red lacquered chronograph seconds hand, which is a skeletonized bow style. Lined up with the minute hand, you have a 0 to 60 minute count up timer, so it does work as a traditional diver so long as the chronograph is running. Now, when the chronograph is not running on this watch, it does not have a constant seconds indicator, so it is very different from a standard ISO 6425 diving watch. But as long as you've got it running, you've got that constant seconds indicator, and it is a 120 click unidirectional bezel. I prefer the silver dial in this model. I usually like darker dials, but the silver here has this lovely vertical satin grain like stainless steel, and it's not pure silver. It has almost a little bit of an undertone of yellow to it, as though it were flashed in a pan of gold, and a small layer of gold were deposited prior to casing up. The individual indices here are broad, well-loomed, and applique, and back then in the early 2000s, the Seamaster Diver 300 meter would have used printed indices, so this is an upscale applique look. We have 7 individual apertures, each of which changes color every minute. So 7 minutes full red, 7 minutes back to full silver, and this is to be used if you are a very high-level free diver, the type who would set records, the type who would be compared to Jacques Mayol. And he was the inspiration for this model because of his record-setting free dive, as well as his work as a naturalist. In particular, he had an interest in marine mammals, specifically small cetaceans, dolphins. You can see his name on the case back. This is one of the few Seamasters you'll ever see that does not have the hippocampus or seahorse on the backside. And inside the case, a unique caliber to this model, based on the ETA 2892A2, but highly modified. It is called the Omega 3 3601. The 3601 is a bidirectional winder with a 44-hour power reserve. It has stop seconds, beats away at 28.8. It's 39 joules rather than the standard 2892, which is 21. And that adds the apnea complication. And you can see it as a modular chronograph, as the chronograph pushers are slightly elevated above the center line of the crown. It is a very fascinating watch, both technically and historically. It's also a good-looking watch, and one that's hard to forget. It's always a pleasure when these come across my desk. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. And we are back with the Seamaster Apnea by night. Note those distinctive hands.